It was a few years ago that folks of the tiny Malahat First Nation sat down to draw up a community plan. Their needs, many.
The opportunities that we had growing up were very limited.
What the Malahats really wanted, says Chief Michael Harry, was a place for everyone to meet and learn to read.
We needed a spot for the sole purpose of a literacy center, learning and technology and cultural ways. At the early stage, it was like, wow, it feels like it's going to be impossible.
The chief applied to federal and provincial governments for funds, no luck. So at the makeshift health center, they tried an after-school reading and homework program.
We didn't have the ability for computers or space or books.
It didn't really work out.
Can you imagine 15 children in here being loud and having fun being children? It creates a bit of a challenge for the work environment here and no real purpose and feeling of an after-school program.
Please join me in a very warm welcome for His Honor and Bob Blacker.
Enter an unlikely duo, a judge and a former cop.
We need to turn the page of history and begin a new page.
Who together united the office of BC's vice-regal representative and hundreds upon hundreds of Rotarians in a remarkable volunteer project dubbed Write2Read.
A book is a fork in the road, is a turning place. It has got the power to create a different future.
It started when Stephen Point became BC's 28th Lieutenant Governor, the first Aboriginal person to hold the post. Not surprisingly, as a former lawyer and provincial court judge, he's a bookworm.
You can go anywhere in a book. You know, you can be anybody. You can, and your imagination can go on, and then pretty soon you get the idea that I think I could do that. I could be a lawyer. I could be whatever.
But Point knew Aboriginal literacy rates are far below Canadian average. For some, it's just hard getting a book. Of Canada's 600-plus First Nations, less than a third have a library. So when he found himself aboard a Navy ship visiting some of the most remote communities in BC, he brought boxes of donated books. That's when Point got to talking with his aide-de-camp, Bob Blacker, who happens to be a member of Rotary Club, a secular charity with the motto, Service Above Self, known for its overseas literacy programs.
And I says, do you guys still bring books out to, like the World Conference? Oh yeah, I see, it's a big program of ours. I go, yeah.
Then he asked me this question, what am I doing in our own backyard? And I thought for a minute, and I'm thinking, uh-oh. Here I'm supposed to know these things? I don't. So I said, well, I'm just going to tell them straight out. I said, Your Honor, I wouldn't have a clue, but I'm going to find out. That was the start of this amazing journey.
Blacker, a retired cop, had impressions of Aboriginal people based on the folks he picked off the streets and stereotypes from his homeland, Australia.
Oh yeah, that's just another Abba. And it was like their lot in life didn't mean anything to you. And so when I came up here and I see our drunken Indians, so to speak, I was desensitized to it.
But he set to work. He quickly recruited a team of retired librarians who began seeking book donations for First Nations.
And you just sort of slip her in there and then behind.
And the books began pouring in.
And we said, well, what are you going to do with them? Are you going to put borrowers cards, pocket spinals, or, call numbers, separate them all out? And they just sort of, oh. So we said, well, if you want a hand or if you want to know how to do it, just give us a call. And they did. And 2 years later, we're still doing it.
This donated storage locker became headquarters, but the project took on a new scope when a free trailer was offered up. They trucked it to the isolated community of Tusi. Folks here had to drive an hour to take kids to a library, which they did once a week. Suddenly, they had their own.
The trailer got here one day, and then the next day they had it set up, and the next day we had the grand opening.
It happened fast because community members and Rotarians all pitched in to help.
Thank you for all the books, and we'd sure like to have more.
That success translated into more donations, trailers, books, labor. Companies joined in. as did First Nations with their own contributions to a library.
Prepare the site, get the electricity, but also to have a member of your community that we can train to be the library technician, to look after the books.
When Write2Read arrived at the Malahat First Nation, so did an architect, donating his time to imagine what 2 trailers and a library might become.
This feeling is to give us like the longhouse feeling. The wood is fantastic.
Yeah.
As we leave the traditional feeling space, we end up coming to where the library and literacy center is going to take place.
The entire space built from donated services and fundraising.
For you, not having government support has been an important part of this project now.
So for me, it's been the most joyous piece of not having any provincial or federal funding, because it's showed the government that we can do this without them, and we want to thrive. And more importantly, we want to create relationships with external communities surrounding us to show that we need each other.
Brothers George and Matt Harry have pitched in since day one, eager to learn skills from the trades and journeymen who've helped out.
Oh, it's going to make a big difference because we never had any of this growing up. So that's one of the major things, a big change.
Breathtaking to see everybody come out.
Come together and work on the building.
Yeah. Every single part of this building, a lot of people put their sweat and tears into this building.
Okay, this one is heavy.
And of course, there will be books. Plenty of them.
Words can't describe it. Great deal of pride, and just saying, wow, we did it. We did it. All of us did it. And that's what it's all about.
Where do you get your books from? Can we help?
Stephen Point finished up as Lieutenant Governor 2 years ago. He was recently reappointed as a provincial court judge. But Judith Guichon, BC's current Lieutenant Governor, enthusiastically endorsed Write2Read. So far, 6 libraries have been opened, 6 more are on their way, 30,000 books in all. It is, perhaps, a new story for the kids.
It's connecting these folks. It's breaking down barriers that should never have been there. And they're coming out to the community for the first time, and they're saying, we want to help. And we can make a better difference by just changing our story.
Or reading a book.
Reading a book. Awesome. Yeah.
Libraries, it has been said, store the energy that fuels the imagination. These libraries owe their beginnings to the imagination of 2 friends, determined to tell kids a new story about Canada. Duncan McHugh, CBC News, Malahat First Nation, BC.